So someone asked me how to use Otter.ai, and honestly, it's one of the tools that I end up using all the time to capture information that I can then process and make it usable in my everyday real estate business, even down to visiting doctors and hearing what they're saying and being able to capture and then reprocess to what's going on. So here's some ways that as real estate professionals or any entrepreneur you might find helpful in using this. Let me go through. When you meet with clients, you can use it when you're doing a consultation. Usually just tell them, hey, I want to capture this so I don't miss anything, and I can come back to you with the conversations. You do want to check on what are the recording laws in your state. Also, I love to use it myself when I'm on a listing appointment. I'll actually go through the house and I will talk to myself and describe the property's features, thinking about, different things I want to remember, what there is that I know I have to put in my MLS listing, getting all the details that I would maybe forget. But I'm doing that while I'm actually taking pictures. Another way is right after a meeting with a client, I can go out and then I'll just record my thoughts about how the meeting go, what issues they had, what concerns, things like that, so that way, I'm not losing it by the time I get back to the office and start taking notes. And also, there's times when I'll ask the client, or ask somebody, whether it's on the front end, what's going on, what made them buy this house. It's a great way to have them tell the story of the house and really capture all that essence when you're going to be marketing it. It's also a great way at the end when you're trying to help people talk about their experience, testimonials, etc. So again, a lot of times people are just really comfortable talking, and if you don't need it on video, then that's a lot more comfortable way of basically, people can just forget that it's there and just, talk and be much better speakers. So again, you can also use it. It can be a recorder in Zoom meetings. You've all seen things like that, the different bots that are out there. It can be in a mastermind if your group agrees, and then you have a way to, transcribe that. A lot of times, Zoom has now built in those features, so you may not need it for that, except that it is, if you have it, just a real easy tool. As you see, the way that you can use the chat or the ChatGPT-like function in it to ask it questions to produce stuff. In addition, there are a lot of times that I will just speak what I want to do. If I'm working on a speech, what are my ideas, trying to capture. So it's almost for me sometimes like a dictation machine that I know will transcribe it perfectly. The challenge I have sometimes when I'm working with ChatGPT or AI is that it will take about 2 minutes of transcription and then it gets overloaded with this memory. So with Otter, again, for long content, for sitting there having a long conversation, for working through, if I'm going to do a bunch of blog posts about a specific thing and I just want to brain dump maybe everything about short-term rentals, talk about different client experiences, I can then take all of that and ask it to help me identify, commonalities, pillars, what do I want to do with my content, but it's really based on my experiences, what I'm giving it, in addition to then being able to use what else might be out there in the AI world. So this is just following up that is how I use it, right? The dictating of content. Also, there's times when I'm around people that actually do a really good job of communicating things, and it helps to capture that and how people say things well. And so in that respect, for sometimes it's a training tool for me because someone is saying things in a much better way and I want to capture it, but it's faster than I can write. And then again, if I am out and about and on the go, it's a great way for me to have an on the go journal and just capture ideas, like I said to you, or personal breakthroughs or something I want to follow up on later. And I'm not limited, and ChatGPT sometimes gets wonky, it sometimes stops in the middle. So for me, it's just a great way to capture all of that. The other thing is it really captures your style, tone, and voice. So later, if you're trying to train ChatGPT and others on your style, tone, and voice, and you want to give it a body of writing or whatever, then you can do that. So you can actually, record yourself giving a speech. And sometimes we have ideas and we're just off the cuff. I know many people that are just off the cuff sharing it and then I'll have it capture it, transcribe it, and then improve it, I can go over to AI or ChatGPT, like, how can I make this better? I can actually ask it to give it to me in short sentences and easier to speak and give me a study guide to practice. I really like the fact that, again, when I'm doing speeches, I can practice it and I can hear how it sounds and I can make those audits myself. And it's just super simple if you have the tool. Yes, I could go voice record on mine and play it. I just like being in one place. So I already said this, but if you're around people that are, ahead of you or better than you or smarter than you, and you're able to capture some of those things, it's a great way to learn and then be able to model. This comes a lot with even going through like public policy things or different speakers. It's a great way to get that information and then make it talking points that you could deliver. And as I said, it's a great way for me to practice my public speaking. And you really kind of see how does it land versus just trying to do it to yourself in a mirror. Sometimes it's hard to really reflect. It also allows me to share it. So if I have mentors or other people that I want to say, hey, how did this land? You can actually share a link from Otter.ai, and that link will go and it will not only have the words, but it'll have the voice recording so you can hear how that sounds. Let me see here. This one's dicey, but the reality is, like, if you have, appointments with even like home inspectors or doctors or people where there's a lot of information, it's hard to take it all in, or you're at a conference or a panel and you're listening something in the public and you want to capture it to end up getting it later, it is a way that you can do that. By using it, it's recording. You don't have to worry about it. You're able to do whatever, but it is, you can be present. And it's actually even good at some family events when you're trying to capture family memories, family stories, having your parents tell the history. Oftentimes, people are not as good at writing or they never get around to it, or even your kids or your loved ones. It's a way that you can capture that and you hear both the voices and get it transcribed. It's also a great way if you're looking, like I said, with mentors or coaches, that you can do delivery, you can role play, you can do those things and then see how does it land. So you can record conversations, you can review the transcript, you can extract insights, you can take action, and you can share knowledge. So all of these are ways to be present with people, to be present in a panel discussion, to be present with a client to hear their story, and yet later you have every detail that oftentimes when I try to write it by hand, I don't capture. So for me, I found that it does create deeper connections. The client is impressed that nothing fell through the cracks. They didn't have to repeat stuff. I got it and made it easier for them. And recently, one of the things I did that was really helpful was I told you about walking through and getting the benefits of the house and getting that information. But I did it to go through and do a pre-listing photo checklist and to-do list for the seller. So I went through each room and we talked, and she was with me, and we talked about what would be beneficial if she could prepare for the photographer. And I listed, do this, do this, do this, do this, take this away, put this here. And it was a lot. And ironically, it was only 12 minutes, which isn't a lot of time. But Otter was able to take that whole conversation it recorded, and I just had my phone going as we walked through each room with the Otter going, and it created by room what was supposed to be done. And what surprised me that I wasn't aware of is then it asked me, would you like me to create an email for the client for you to send with this information? So what would have taken me 20, 30 minutes or more to transcribe my notes, write an email, put it all together, I literally was able to have Otter create the checklist, summary by room, and the email in under 2 minutes and back out to the client. And the client was impressed, and the level of service of detail about their house, and that I gave them something very easy that removed a lot of stress from them on being able to do that. So again, I think that's when AI is best, is when we are delivering personal service and helping people and yet bringing it to be a better experience for them. It definitely enhanced my productivity and saves me time. But again, those savings really are secondary to the client experience for me in my business, since it's 95% repeat and referral for, Pinellas County, Gulf Front, waterfront homes and real estate here in the area that we specialize in. The professional growth is that it has helped me as I'm called on to do more speaking quicker, faster, to be able to sometimes get my thoughts down and then have it, see how it flows and be able to tweak it and practice. And I don't have to worry if anybody's around. I can just do all of that and be prepared. So yeah, I would highly encourage you to check it out. I think the basic plan gives you about 300 minutes a month. If you end up using more than that, it's probably worth upgrading to whatever it is that they need to do. And it does, I've found, really feel like helps me still stay, human and connected to people, but just working in a smarter way. So I hope that's helpful. I would love it if you put in the comments any questions you have, if you'd like to see more training like this, and if that's helpful. Have a great day.